Góðan dag, kæru nemendur, or good day, dear students. Today we're going to talk about how to pronounce Icelandic glaciers. So if you don't know any Icelandic at all, this is fine, but if you know some Icelandic, we can use this to practice our pronunciation, and then I will sneak in some vocabulary and even some hints of grammar. Let's see. First of all, let me teach you the word for glacier, because this is probably the most difficult part of any glacier name, is just to pronounce the Icelandic word for glacier. So when we say glacier in Icelandic, this is Jökull. Jökull. And notice the sound. So we say Jökull. And then at the end we have the clicking Icelandic L that we usually say with either one side of our mouths. Some Icelanders say it from the right, some people say it from the left. I always do it from the right. And you sort of do a clicking sound almost like a DL. So it's Jökull. Jökull. And if we have many glaciers, then we say Jöklar. Jöklar. And notice that now the L sound is changing because we don't have the double N anymore. So we say Jöklar. Okay, so if you manage to pronounce Jökull and Jöklar, half the battle is already done. Okay, half the battle is already done because I think this is the most difficult part of most glacier names. So how do we form glacier names in Icelandic? When you're in English, you just put one word and then another word and you keep them separate usually. So you say like Rocky Mountains, and this is two words. In Icelandic, we have composite words, so we put them together. And the most common way to do this is put whatever we want to identify the glacier with. We put the word for that in the genitive, and then we stick the word Jökull right next to it. So for example, my name is Ása. My name is Ása, and if I had a glacier in my backyard that I wanted to name after myself, I would simply call it Ásjökull. Ásjökull, which means like Ása's Jökull, or the Jökull of Ása is maybe more a reasonable translation. So we'd say Ásjökull. This Jökull doesn't exist, unfortunately. I don't have any glacier of my own. This is the most common way by far, I would say, but a different way to make these composite words, both with glaciers but also more in general, is to take the root of the word and then add the second part of the word to it. So in principle, if I wanted to name a glacier based on my name is Ása. Ás is the root of the word and A is a female ending. So I could also name the Jökull Ásjökull. Ásjökull. This sounds very normal. This is a very normal sounding Jökull that also doesn't exist. But here it would not be completely clear that it was my glacier, because Ása comes from the Nordic gods. So Ás is one Nordic god, like Thor is an Ás, Odin is an Ás, etc. So most people would probably think that the glacier was named after them and not after me, so it would be more ambiguous. But these are two of the most common ways to make composite words. One, and probably the most straightforward, is just to put the first word into the genitive form in the genitive case and then add the second word to it. But another version is to take the root of the word and then add the glacier to this, and we will see both options here today. So let's start with the biggest one, our pride and joy, the biggest glacier in Europe, at least by volume. By area it's slightly more ambiguous, but all in all it's a ridiculous thing to worry about, because now right next door we have Greenland, and the Greenland glacier is like, I don't know, 17 times the size of Iceland. It's enormous, so any comparison to Europe is a bit silly. But we will still be proud of our biggest glacier, because it's still magnificent and it's very pretty. So the biggest glacier in Iceland, and it's the one that you see immediately popping out on the map, and we call it Vatnajökull. Vatnajökull, or in a normal speed we say Vatnajökull. And notice here that the N sound is slightly strange. It has the hint, it's not the strongest form of the Icelandic N that we will ever see, but it has the hint of this sort of nose sound that comes with it. So if I say it very slowly and clearly, we say vatna, na. So it's sort of, you stop all the breath and then you let it out. It's vatna, vatna. But then when you say it more quickly, it's vatna, vatna, vatna. So you stop the breath for a while and then you let it out. So it's vatna, vatna. And it's the N sounds a little bit like the N. But more about that in my lesson about N. So what does it mean, Vatnajökull? So vatn. And here you see that if you say only vatn, then the Icelandic knows N. See my lessons about N for more details about this. But here when you say only vatn and we end with N, then the Icelandic knows N becomes very clear. But vatn simply means water, but it can also mean a lake. And from the grammar of the word Vatnajökull, we can see that here this refers to the lake meaning. Because it's actually in plural, and when we're talking about the liquid, we don't speak about the liquid in plural, but we can speak about many lakes. So Vatnajökull actually means glacier of lakes. The second biggest glacier in Iceland, that is sort of in central west, I would say, something like this. This one we call Langjökull. Langjökull. And here for the pronunciation tip, know that because there's an NG after the A sounds like an ow. Okay, so we'll pronounce it very strongly as a Langjökull, even though it's spelled with an A and not with an ow. So we say Langjökull. And the G is hard, so we say Langjökull, Langjökull, Langjökull. And this comes from the word langur, which is just the word for long. And here we use the root of the word, which is lang, and then add the jökull to it. So we say Langjökull, Langjökull. And you can see from the shape that compared to the other glacier, it's sort of long, and this is why we call it Langjökull. The third biggest Icelandic glacier is almost right at the center of the country. And this one is, I think, maybe the easiest one to pronounce. I think so. It depends on you, I guess, more than me. But it's called Hofsjökull. Okay? Hofsjökull. Hofsjökull. So, Hof simply means like a temple. So in Iceland, when we say Hof, we usually refer to like Hof related to the Nordic gods, but it has also the more general meaning that the way that it's used in the same way that you use temple. A temple, or the temple glacier is probably the best way to say it, is Hofsjökull. Hofsjökull, right at the smack in the middle of the country, and it's easy to pronounce. Now we're out to the fourth biggest glacier in Iceland by area, and this one is the one in the south, or the sort of the biggest one that is very clearly in the south, and this one is called Mýrdalsjökull. Okay, Mýrdalsjökull. Mýrdalsjökull. Okay. And this jökull, you see it sometimes, I think, when you're flying over Iceland. I think this one you see, maybe Vatnajökull also. And this comes from the word Mýrdalur. Mýrdalur. So dalur means a valley, like a valley. And mýri means a swamp. So it's like those typical Icelandic swamps. They're usually quite red and they smell a little bit like iron because there's iron in them. So they have this sort of reddish color. And this is what we call mýri. And then the glacier of Swamp Valley is Mýrdalsjökull. Now we're up to the fifth biggest glacier in Iceland. And now we move to the northwest, to the Vestfirðir. So Vestfirðir is the reindeer horns of Iceland. And in Vestfirðir, the biggest glacier in Vestfirðir, is called Drangajökull. 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 Okay? Drangajökull. And we can say Drangajökull á Vestfjörðum. Drangajökull á Vestfjörðum, which means Drangajökull is in the Westfjords, or however you pronounce it in English, I don't know. Notice here that again, because we have the A before the NG, then we have the NG rule, and then we will pronounce the A as an ow, as the ow of my name. So we will say Drangajökull very clearly with an ow, even though it's spelled with an A because of the NG rule. This comes from the word drangi, and drangi is sort of this high, thinnish rock, maybe a pillar of rock, the kind that you often see outside in the sea, standing alone in the sea, both in Iceland, but also you see this very nice picture from Malta, then you typically see this pillar of rocks in the sea. They don't have to be in the sea, but sometimes they're in the sea, and this is what we call drangi. So this is why we name it Drangajökull, the pillar of rocks glacier, I guess. So in the place number 6 we have the very famous Jökull that had the volcano eruption that ruined air travel, and for a month or two everyone hated us. This is the one that caused very much trouble with all the news reporters trying to pronounce it, and I don't know what they did, but all of it was wrong. This is the famous Eyjafjallajökull. Okay, I'll say it slowly. Eyjafjalla. Here we have the clicking L again. Fjalla. This is how I'm showing you my teeth. Fjalla. So I put my tongue here, and then I click to the side. So this part of my tongue stays still, but I click to the side, and I say fjalla. Try it both on your right and left, because for me it's very difficult to do it on the left, and people who always do it on the left, it's very difficult for them to do it on your right. So you might have a side that you favor, just check them both out and then practice on the side that is more easy for you. So it's Eyjafjalla, and then we have the word that we have practiced a lot in this lesson, which is Jökull. So the entire thing is Eyjafjallajökull, or Eyjafjallajökull. And this Jökull is named after a mountain or mountain range really, and they are called Eyjafjöll. So basically fjall means a mountain, but fjöll means mountains, and Eyja means an island. So Eyja means an island. So for example we can say Iceland eyja. Iceland is an island. Iceland eyja. So the 6th biggest glacier in Iceland is called Eyjafjallajökull. Okay, originally I planned to do only 6, but I'll add one at the end. Not because it's the 7th biggest, I think it's like the 13th biggest or something like this. But I'll add it because it's a little bit famous, and it's fairly easy to get to, so it's quite, you can see it fairly easily. And this is the one that is most to the west, and it's called Snæfellsjökull. Okay? Snæfellsjökull. Snæfell basically means a snowy mountain. Notice that when we say Snæfell, we have the clicking L, but when we say Snæfells in the genitive, then the clicking goes away and it's easier for you to say. And it's quite nice because you can actually, when the weather is good, you can actually see it from some places in Reykjavik or some places in the Höfuðborgarsvæðið. So you can, and then you can see over the sea, and then at the end you can see sort of it's shaped a little bit like this, and it's quite pretty. And then you can see, and especially when the sun is setting and the sun is rising, then it's very pretty and very nice. And also it's famous because it was featured in Jules Verne's book, something called like Travel to the Center of the Earth, something like this. So it's sort of famous, so let's end with that one. I hope you learned something, and one day that you get the chance to see Icelandic glaciers. If you want to see an Icelandic glacier, you could say Mig langar að sjá íslenskan jökull. Mig langar að sjá íslenskan jökull. I want to see an Icelandic glacier. Or if you're greedy and you want to see many, then you can say mig langar að sjá íslenska jökla. Mig langar að sjá íslenska jökla. That's it for today. Stay tuned for the short and very easy homework, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye! For the first homework of today, I just want you to connect the names of the glaciers in Icelandic to their translation in English. I strongly recommend that you also use the opportunity and try to see if you remember how to pronounce them. Take all the time that you need, press pause, and then now I will give you the answer. Here is the result, and I will go briefly over the names just to remind you of the pronunciation. Snæfellsjökull, Langjökull, Eyjafjallajökull, Mýrdalsjökull, Drangajökull, Hofsjökull, and finally the biggest, Vatnajökull. And then for the second and final exercise of today, can you remember which one is which? So try to connect the glacier on the map with their names. Press pause, take all the time that you need, and then now I will give you the answer. Here is the result, and now the only remaining question is, which Icelandic glacier is your favorite? Ef að þið ákveðið að heimsækja Ísland, þá getið þið farið í jöklaferðir. Það þýðir að þið farið upp á jöklana, oftast á fjórhjóli, með hóp. Það vissara að fara með hóp, því að fara einn getur verið hættulegt. En það er líka hægt að fara í gönguferðir upp á suma jökla. Svo ef þið farið til Íslands og hafið áhuga á jöklum, endilega skellið ykkur í jöklaferð.